Hey guys, tonight we're walking across a bridge that doesn't believe in sides. It just stretches there in the mist, pretending like one end isn't any different from the other. Because maybe it isn't. Maybe it's the kind of place that
eats your sense of direction the way socks disappear in dryers. You step onto it and something hums, not out loud but inside your chest, like the bridge knows you're here. Now don't worry unless you're afraid of becoming part of something.
that might not end.
Because tonight, we're not just crossing a bridge, we're stepping into a story that folds time like origami and whispers in languages your bones might understand, but your brain definitely won't. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, leave a comment telling me what time it is and where in the world you're listening from. I want to know how far this bridge stretches. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You arrive at the stone bridge just before sunset. The air smells like river water and electricity, like a storm was here recently or is thinking about coming back. The bridge is old, but it doesn't look worn, more like it's paused in the middle of aging. Moss clings to the sides, sure, but none of the stones are cracked, no rust on the bolts. Even the wooden handrail is smooth, like someone's been sanding it down every night. You look across the span and you can't tell where it ends. There's a fog, not the kind that rolls in off water, but the kind that seems to pulse from the bridge itself. It doesn't feel natural, it feels like the bridge is blurring its own destination. You take a step. The wood doesn't creak. Another step. The air is still, yet you feel watched, not in a sinister way, but like the bridge is curious about you. You pass a metal pole with a rusted sign that says simply, "You're not leaving, you're changing." There's laughter behind you. You turn, no one, but you swear it was an old woman, warm, raspy, like the kind of laugh you'd hear after someone says something unexpectedly true. You look ahead again, and now, standing at the center of the bridge, is a figure in a long skirt and a cardigan. Her silhouette flickers slightly, like film at the wrong frame rate. She lifts a hand and waves, then she's gone. You don't scream, you don't even flinch. You've seen weirder things on late-night TV commercials for miracle juicers. Still, something in your spine acknowledges that this isn't just a weird bridge. It's a threshold. You keep walking. To your right, the river flows calmly, but every few seconds it ripples the wrong way, like it's remembering a different direction. You lean over the edge. There's graffiti on the underside of the handrail. "I'm not lost. I'm just where I stopped looking." You don't remember who said that, but it feels like something you've thought in the shower. Farther in, the light changes, not dimmer, just sideways. That's the only way to describe it. Shadows fall in directions that don't match your body. A soft orange glow rises from the planks beneath your feet, like the bridge is holding on to old sunsets and letting them leak out slowly. You pass a bench bolted to the railing. It's small, cast iron legs, wood slats. Carved into the seat is a message. "Sat here with Elsie, 1973, she never came back." You sit down because you would, right? Who wouldn't? The bench doesn't feel like it wants anything from you. It's not haunted, it's just tired and warm. As you rest, you notice small objects embedded in the concrete between the planks. A marble, a key, a tiny spoon. Someone pressed these things here deliberately. Offerings maybe, or leftovers from people who didn't make it across, or didn't want to. You start to feel the bridge breathing, not with lungs, with memory. You close your eyes, and for a second, you see the bridge as it once was, full of people. not all from the same time. A woman in a 1920s cloche hat, a kid in bell-bottoms, a man in a powdered wig. They aren't talking to each other, just walking silently, like the bridge called each of them at different points in history. And they answered. You open your eyes, they're gone. Just you now. You and the bridge and the thickening fog ahead. You feel the temperature shift just slightly, enough to make you wonder if you're walking into something colder or if the bridge just decided you needed goosebumps for dramatic effect. You reach a part where the handrail splits. One side continues straight, the other curves back toward the river. But from the air, both paths would look like the same direction. You choose forward. Of course you do. Because the thing about a bridge is, it's not about getting to the other side. It's about finding out whether you believe there is one. And as you take another step, you hear the old woman's laugh again. But this time, it comes from your own throat. You keep walking, and the bridge watches. You walk further, and the air thickens, not with moisture, but with memory. It clings to your skin like dust in an attic no one has dared clean since 1872. You pass a small plaque, bolted to the railing, barely visible in the glow of the dying light. You lean closer, expecting some historical marker, but it only says, "Time is optional here. Proceed accordingly." So you do. You proceed accordingly, and just as your feet settle into that rhythm, step, echo, step, you notice something peculiar. Your watch has stopped. Not frozen at some poetic hour like 11:11 or midnight, but at 3:07, which is either meaningful or completely meaningless. You're not sure which is worse. To your left, through a gap in the fog, you see a canvas tent pitched directly on the wooden planks of the bridge. It shouldn't be possible. It breaks every rule of physics and zoning laws, but there it is. Brown, weathered, yet standing proud. A lantern glows faintly inside, flickering the way a dream does when you start to wake up. But refuse, you pause. Of course you do. Curiosity is your main character flaw. You lift the flap. Inside, an old man sits at a low wooden table covered in maps, not the glossy kind from tourist shops, but yellowing parchment sheets, some drawn by hand, others burned at the edges, and every single one of them shows the same bridge, but none of them agree on where it leads. "Welcome," he says without looking up. "I've been expecting someone who doesn't know where they're going." You want to reply with something clever, but your mouth decides on silence. That feels appropriate. He gestures at a map with an ink-stained finger. It's labeled in looping cursive, Cartographia Transitum. Below that, in much smaller letters, "Do not trust the rivers." He chuckles softly. "I've drawn this bridge over 400 times. Each version claims to be the real one. Some end in cities, some just dissolve into forest. One even loops back to the moment before you were born." He squints at you. "That one's not for beginners." You ask him, though you're not sure how your voice forms, why he keeps doing it. "Because the bridge won't make up its mind," he says, tapping the parchment. "And until it does, I have work to do." You thank
him and step back out. He doesn't say goodbye.
Just lifts a hand vaguely, as if dismissing a thought he meant to keep. You resume walking, and that's when you notice your own footsteps aren't echoing anymore. Instead, you hear someone else's, behind you. You stop. The footsteps stop. You take a step. Nothing. Then another. The bridge creaks, finally. And that sound feels like permission. The echo doesn't return, but you hear breathing, not yours. It's rhythmic, steady, and oddly musical, like someone asleep beside you. Except there's no one there, just you. and the bridge. And the growing realization that maybe the bridge isn't echoing because it's listening. You pass a tree growing out of the side of the railing. A tree. On a bridge. Its roots twist into the planks like veins. Its leaves are wrong, not green, but faded sepia, like memories pressed into wax paper and forgotten in a drawer. You reach out and touch one. It hums, a soft note. Familiar? Like the opening to a lullaby your grandmother used to sing, even though you never had a grandmother who sang lullabies. That's when the bridge whispers something, not in words, but in temperature. The air on your left chills by 1 degree, then your right side warms up, then cold again. A code. You keep walking, and suddenly you remember something you didn't know you forgot. In 1799, Napoleon's soldiers were stationed at a bridge with no destination. They mapped it, marched across it, sent messages home, but
none of them ever returned. The letters survived. Dozens. All of them stopped mid-sentence. My dearest Camille, today I stood on the stones and my darling son.
Tell your mother that scholars have argued for decades whether these letters were psychological artifacts of war or something more bizarre. Some say the bridge swallowed time, others say it offered freedom, and most weren't ready for
it. And then, as if summoned by the thought, you see a paper pinned to the railing by a rusted nail.
Faded ink, French. Nous n'avons jamais su de quel côté nous venions. We never knew which side we came from. You keep moving, because what else is there to do? You reach a point where the railing is gone, replaced by mirrors. Tall, fogged,
antique ones that shouldn't be standing up on their own. They reflect you, kind of. One version is younger, another older. One has a hat you've never owned. One is crying. You look away, not out of fear, but because the crying one mouthed something, and you understood it, and you're not ready to believe it was true. The bridge widens.
Not by architecture, but by sensation. It feels like the world gets roomier, like you could veer off in any direction and fall into someone else's memory. You take a breath. It smells like ink, rain, and something burnt. You're not lost, but the bridge wants you to think about what that even means. And as you keep walking, a small child's voice says gently, right behind your ear, "Shh." The next part's my favorite. You don't turn around, because of course the child isn't there, or maybe they're just ahead. You follow the sound of that child's voice, even though it fades almost immediately, like it was never a voice at all, just the idea of one. The bridge narrows again, pulling you gently toward its center. But center is a tricky word here. The bridge has no midpoint, no beginning or end, just more. You notice the fog has thickened, but not enough to hide the strange objects now embedded into the railing. Nameplates, dozens of them, all hand-engraved in different styles, rusted and pitted by time. Each bears a name, followed by a single word. Lillian disappeared Marcus, wondered Beatrice, chose Theo, returned. Theo did not return. Yes, both. 2 plates, same name, same person. You run your finger along one marked Yvette, unexplained, and feel the metal pulse beneath your fingertip just once, like a heart remembering it had a job. You step back. The fog parts briefly to your left, revealing a rickety old kiosk, a wooden booth like something you'd find at a forgotten county fair, complete with a striped canvas top, except it's unmanned, and instead of popcorn or tickets, there's a small display of river stones, each etched with a date. You lean in. Each stone vibrates slightly as you near it, but one seems to hum louder. You reach for it, not sure why, and as your hand closes, around the cool surface, Your vision stutters, like a VHS tracking glitch in your brain. Then, sound. A voice. Male. Warm. Southern drawl clipped by wartime discipline.
My darling Eleanor, the bridge is longer than I expected. I passed an officer with no legs who didn't notice. He saluted me anyway. I think we're walking out of time itself. If I don't... The message cuts off. You drop the...
stone. But it doesn't hit the ground, it just vanishes. Or, more disturbingly, perhaps it returns to its slot among the others. You're not sure anymore, and then the plaque above the kiosk catches your eye, painted in red. Take only what you're prepared to hear again in a dream. You walk faster now, not because you're scared, but because you're starting to feel the weight of it all. Not dread, just density. Like the bridge carries everyone who's ever crossed it inside itself. Their thoughts, their echoes, their favorite songs, forgotten phone numbers, passwords to accounts no one will ever log into again. Then you find the wall. It's sudden, jutting out from the side of the bridge as if grown overnight. Brick, deep red, and always damp. Even as you watch droplets of moisture bead on its surface, you reach out, your fingers come away wet, and the water smells faintly like burnt matches. You stare at the wall and realize it doesn't reflect anything. Not the fog, not your hand, not even the light. It just absorbs. Historians from the region have long whispered about a structure built during the American Civil War, a temporary detainment cell constructed directly on a river crossing. Records say it was made from fast-curing bricks and pine pitch slapped together overnight to hold 3 Confederate deserters who never arrived. The building was dismantled before sunrise. Not one photo exists. Some say it was never built. Others argue the bridge you're on is what's left of it, what happens when architecture tries to forget its own purpose. A small inscription carved into the base of the wall reads, "Memory held longer than body." Regret seeps outward. You continue, walking. You're not sure how long. Time, again, becomes jelly. It slips between thoughts and collects in strange places. You hum a tune you don't know, just to give yourself shape. Then you see it. A notebook, sitting on a wooden stool at the edge of the bridge. It's open. You glance down. The first page reads, "Bridge log for those who still believe in arrival." Underneath are entries handwritten from across the decades. The handwriting shifts from cursive to chicken scratch to typewritten pages pasted in. A few snippets jump out at you. April 9th, 1912. She said the other side smells like oranges and brass polish. June the 3rd, 1973. Lost track of hours, found a silver dollar embedded in the plank. Tasted like thunder. October 18th, 2021. Someone walked by wearing my childhood pajamas. I didn't stop them. You flip to the final entry. It's dated tomorrow. Your name is signed at the bottom. You sit on the stool. Because of course you do. A warm breeze cuts through the fog. It smells like toast and summer rain, your favorite, though you can't remember telling anyone that. You close your eyes and for a moment, you feel like the bridge has stopped. Or maybe you've stopped and the bridge is moving. And as you listen closely, you hear it again. That gentle laugh from the old woman. She's ahead of you now. She's always been ahead of you. The railing hums softly. You rise and step forward, and the bridge welcomes your weight like a long-lost friend. The bridge feels more certain beneath your feet now, as if your presence is helping it make decisions it's been avoiding for for centuries. The boards don't creak so much as sigh, a low, content exhale like a dog settling into a warm patch of sun. Ahead, the fog lifts just enough to reveal something unexpected. A playground, not a modern one, no brightly colored plastic, no safety signs. This is old, wood and iron, swings hanging from thick chains, a seesaw with faded yellow paint, a merry-go-round spinning very slowly though there's no wind, and there, scattered among the equipment, are children. They aren't playing exactly. They're moving, yes, climbing, swinging, hiding, but in slow motion, not like they're pretending to be ghosts, but like time is bored and stretching them out for fun. One girl crouches behind a slide, her eyes locked on you. She's chewing gum with the kind of commitment only children and philosophers possess. She doesn't blink. You take a cautious step closer. She grins, gap-toothed and mischievous. "It's still recess," she says. You nod. That seems reasonable. Another child, a boy in overalls, skips past, but he leaves no sound behind, no footfalls, no rustling. His presence is as silent as a thought you forgot mid-sentence. You sit on the swing. Because what else? The seat is warm and the chains hum faintly.
As you sway forward and back, you catch snippets of conversation floating in the air. Though none of the children are speaking, she said the son has a sister, but she's hiding. Every time I blink, I remember fewer birthdays. He
Gave me a nickel that smells like lightning. You don't ask questions, you're learning. The merry-go-round slows to a stop. A boy you hadn't noticed before climbs off and walks toward you. He has freckles, an old-fashioned lunchbox, and a band-aid on one knee. He opens the lunchbox. Inside is a small stone shaped like a beetle and a photograph of a house that doesn't exist anymore. He hands you the photo. It shows you, standing right, here, swinging, same clothes, same weather. Only, the date in the corner reads August 12th, 1964. You weren't alive then, probably. Before you can react, the boy whispers, "We're still hiding, but they never told us who's it." You turn to ask what that means, but he's gone. Just gone. No puff of smoke, no dramatic sparkle. Just not there. The slide groans behind you. You turn again, slowly, and see a shape climbing to the top. Not a child, something older, worn down, like a teacher made of dust and patience. Its eyes glow faintly.
Not menacing, just present. It watches you. You don't move, and then it speaks. You may proceed when you've forgotten why you stopped. You blink, the playground is empty again. The fog rolls in, this time with a rhythm, like breathing.
Or a tide. You rise and walk through it, past the swings, the spinning thing, the echo of laughter, not quite sad enough to mourn. And just beyond the last post of the playground fence, you see a structure made of brass and glass and paper. A booth, like a photo booth from an old arcade, but too tall, too narrow, and humming faintly with light from within. The words above it say, "Memories processed here. Leave with less." You hesitate, then step inside. The booth closes around you. Inside, it's dark at first, then a screen flickers to life in front of you, casting your reflection in greenish phosphor glow. Except it's not your reflection, not quite. Your face is there, yes, but the expression is unfamiliar, serene, wistful. The machine speaks in a soothing monotone. Please select a memory to offload. A list appears. The first time you heard your name. The moment you stopped believing in summer. The last time someone asked how you were and meant it. The shape of your first fear. You scroll, there's no back button. Eventually, you tap 1. The feeling of needing to leave. The booth hums louder, the screen fades, and when the door opens again, the air outside feels lighter. The weight you carried, the vague urgency to be elsewhere, is gone. You step out. The bridge continues, and this time the path is lined with lanterns, faint, floating, and each glowing softly with a different color. They sway as if dancing to music just outside your hearing. And that's when you remember, in 1891, a woman named Delilah Marsh claimed she walked a bridge that was lit by the regrets of others. She wrote it down in a diary no one ever found, just fragments quoted by a friend of a cousin of a reporter. Scholars doubt she ever existed, but the lanterns sway. One bumps your shoulder softly. Inside it is a flickering image. A train ticket to a destination with no name, torn at the corner, still warm. You keep walking, and now the bridge begins to hum again, not from the planks or the railings, but from inside you. It feels like music, like permission, like you're ready for the next part.
You follow the lanterns, though none of them ask you to. They're just there, guiding without demanding, like the best kinds of friendships or the feeling you get from a song you haven't heard in years, but still remember how to hum.
The bridge takes a gentle curve, not a turn, not a shift, just a suggestion. And around that bend, the air changes again. Now it smells like parchment and candle wax, like a study you've never visited, but know you'd love. And there, tucked to the side like a secret someone didn't quite hide well enough, is a room, an actual room, walls, a low wooden roof. One of the bridge planks simply opens into it, like the bridge is saying, "You'll want to see this." You step in. The air is warmer, somehow quieter. Dust hangs in rays of unseen sunlight. In the center of the room sits a round table surrounded by high-backed chairs, all empty. At first, then the voices begin. They're not speaking words, not really. More like thoughts having conversations. Equations and blueprints swirl gently in the air like smoke signals sent by architects of ideas. You listen. One voice says, "If we rearrange perception into parallel spirals, maybe causality can rest." Another replies, "But then memory becomes a direction. Who would navigate?" They're debating the structure of space, but not in a science fiction way, in a painfully human way. One that suggests they've been stuck on this question since before bridges existed, and maybe that's why this one is so stubborn. You ease toward the table and see what's at the center. A blueprint, not of the bridge, but of a mind. Yours, probably. The shape is uncanny, a series of concentric paths, each one labeled with familiar but unsettling names. Doubt, entry point, repetition loop, denial, grief, stored here, do not disturb, imaginary exits. You reach out to touch it, but the paper lifts off the table gracefully and folds itself into a bird. The bird hovers, flaps once, and flies out through the wall. Of course, you step back onto the bridge and the voices fade, not because you've left, but because they've finished saying what they needed to for now. You continue. The fog parts again, just slightly, and you notice the river below is reflecting something strange. Not the bridge, not you, but skies.
Dozens of them. One is violet and crackling with distant lightning. Another is completely black, except for a single floating orange moon.
One sky is green and shows no stars, only drifting lanterns shaped like hands. The river has no loyalty to what's above. It remembers other places. You lean over, and for a moment, you catch your reflection. Only. It's not you. It's someone wearing your face, holding a compass, smiling. Behind them, an enormous stone archway, moss-covered and glowing faintly with bioluminescent patterns. It pulses. You blink, the river goes back to normal. Your face returns, but the smile lingers, not on your lips, but somewhere behind your eyes, a leftover from the version of you that might have stepped off this bridge a different way. You keep walking. A door appears. Yes, just standing upright. No hinges, no frame. A freestanding door in the middle of the bridge. You try the handle. It's warm. You open it. Behind it, nothing. No void. Not darkness. Just nothing. The kind of nothing that dreams use when they're waiting for your next thought. You close the door. Gently. It disappears. You step forward and find a wooden crate, nailed shut. Carved on the side is a phrase for when the question becomes more real than the answer. You don't open it, you sit beside it, and from somewhere very far away, or maybe just inside your own skull, you hear a voice say, historians are still arguing whether this was ever a bridge at all. Some say it was a failed experiment in temporal diplomacy. Others think it was a monument to forgetting. You chuckle softly. That sounds about right. You stretch your legs, crack your knuckles, breathe in the silence, and just as you're about to rise again, you notice a mark on the plank beneath you, burned into the wood, small and nearly missed. Your arrival was scheduled. Your departure is not. You nod. Because honestly, that checks out. You walk a little slower now, not out of caution but respect. The bridge has earned it. It's not just a structure anymore. It's an idea that's decided to wear planks and nails like a disguise. The fog lifts just enough to reveal something.
You didn't expect stairs. They descend from the edge of the bridge, spiraling down like a staircase someone whispered into existence. You can't see where they lead.
But you're not exactly in the habit of questioning the impossible anymore. So you go down. The air cools by 5 degrees exactly. You know that without checking. Your body tells you. The scent changes too, less like rain, more like library. Basements and stone cellars and the kind of places where secrets hang from the ceiling like cobwebs. At the bottom of the stairs is a narrow platform and on it a stone pedestal. Atop the pedestal, a small brass bell. You ring it because of course. You do. The sound it makes isn't loud. It's not even sound exactly. It's more like a memory echoing through someone else's dream. It feels like a kiss on your forehead from someone you never met, like a scent that reminds you of a house you never lived in. And then carved into the wall behind the pedestal, glowing faintly, you are now below the moment. Please proceed as if no one remembers you. You smile. Just a little. The platform stretches into a narrow path, stone instead of wood now, lit by tiny candles placed at random intervals. Each one flickers with its own personality. Some cheerful, some trembling. One keeps going out and relighting itself like it's telling a joke it can't finish. You follow. The walls shift as you move, first stone, then shelves, then picture frames. Each one holds a photograph, but none are clear. Faces are smudged, backgrounds are warped. A family picnic on the surface of a lake, a wedding beneath a sky of teeth, a birthday party where the candles are melting upward. You pause at one that seems familiar. A person, you, standing in a field, holding a book wide open. The book is blank, but the person looks proud, triumphant even. Beneath the frame is a small plaque, documentation of a truth not remembered. You keep going. Soon, the path opens into a chamber, quiet, round. In the center, a single chair facing a large screen made of woven light, like a movie theater for ghosts, or a dream running on analog tape. You sit because, honestly, you're getting used to this. The screen flickers. You see the bridge from above, from far above. But it's not just the bridge you're on, it's dozens of bridges, all crisscrossing, intertwining like ribbons in a maypole. Some are stone, some are made of bone. One is pulsing gently, like it has a heartbeat. Each one carries travelers. Each traveler looks like you, not exactly, but close enough. One carries a backpack full of clocks. One is barefoot and bleeding from the heel, but smiling. One walks backward the entire time, never turning around. And as you watch, the screen begins to zoom into a single version. You, the you, sitting in the chair, watching yourself. You blink and the screen goes dark. In its place, the words, "You are now closer to the center than anyone has been." You stand, not because you're told to, but because your legs move on their own. The room fades behind you. The stairs reappear, but they're moving now, sliding upward like an escalator designed by someone who loved riddles more than physics. You.
Ride in silence. As you ascend, you hear music. Faint, familiar, like the sound of a music box hidden in a memory. You hum along. You don't know the tune, but your bones do. And when you step back onto the bridge, it feels different. Not lighter.
Not darker, just aware. It's watching you now with the kind of attention normally reserved for last pages and final questions. And just ahead, at the edge of the path, you see a mirror. Oval, ornate, freestanding. You approach it, of course. You
look in, and what you see isn't your reflection. It's the moment before you ever set foot on the bridge.
The version of you that stood at the edge, unsure, unsettled, uncertain. They look back at you, and they nod. Not because they understand, but because they trust you now. The mirror cracks, not violently, just a thin spiderweb fracture, as if the past has finally accepted that it can't hold you anymore. You step away, and the bridge leans gently into the next part of the journey. The bridge feels narrower now, though you can't say for sure if it's the wood that's changed or just your perception. Each step feels quieter, like you're entering a part of the story that doesn't want to be told too loudly. Up ahead, the fog lifts in just one direction, straight ahead, like a stage light on a single spot. And in that spot stands a telephone booth, red, weathered. The kind that looks like it should belong on a cobbled street in 1960s London, not the middle of a metaphysical bridge floating through every version of yesterday. The booth is ringing, of course it is. 3 soft, mechanical chimes, not desperate, not urgent, just persistent. You step inside, it smells like old dimes and static electricity. The phone is the rotary kind with a cord that coils, like a memory trying to find its way back. You pick up. There's silence at first. Then faintly, the sound of waves, not river waves, ocean waves, then a voice. Male, measured, gentle. Hi there. If you found this message, you're doing just fine. You don't respond, you're not supposed to. The voice continues. You've come farther than most. This part of the bridge doesn't get many visitors. Not anymore. A pause. Static crackles. You may have already guessed that the bridge was never about getting across. It's about seeing how long you'll walk before asking the right question. You feel something shift in your chest, not pain, something closer to recognition. The voice lowers. Ask it, you're ready. And then the line goes dead. You don't ask aloud, but in your head, clear as bells. What was I trying to leave behind? The phone clicks once more, as if it heard you. You step out of the booth, and everything around you resets slightly. Not a
full reset, just a nudge. The wood grain looks different. The light feels closer. Even the wind hums in a slightly new key. Up ahead, the bridge splits. Not dramatically, just a fork.
Two identical paths, each with the same railing, same planks, same lazy fog curling at the edges, but you know one of them loops, you just don't know which, so you stop. You breathe. You remember something. You didn't know you'd forgotten, a letter you wrote once but never sent. It began with the line, "If you're reading this, it means I was wrong about what endings are." The memory passes. You pick the left path, and soon you hear music again. But not the faint lullaby from
before. This is closer to jazz.
Not full, not brassy, but a lazy late-night saxophone curling around your ears like incense smoke. Then the source reveals itself. A man in a pinstripe suit, sitting on a stool in front of an old gramophone. He's not playing, just listening, eyes closed. The record spins on its own. The air around him smells like tobacco and rain on pavement. He opens one eye when you approach. "You hear it too?" he asks. You nod. He grins. "Thought I was the only one still picking up the transmission." You ask him what it means. He shrugs. "Depends. Some folks say it's the bridge's heartbeat. Others say it's the sound of the people who never left." You sit beside him because that's what the moment asks for. For a while, neither of you speaks, you just listen. Then he says, "You know, when the bridge was first built, whenever that was, they say it refused to be anchored on either side." You turn to him, he taps his temple. Some say it's because it didn't know where it belonged. Others say it's because it knew the ground was the lie. A long pause. Personally, I think it liked floating better. You rise. He doesn't say goodbye. You don't either. The bridge leans again, ever so slightly. A wooden sign swings into view above you, creaking on rusted hinges, painted in looping letters. "This way to whatever comes next." You walk beneath it, and for the first time you feel like the bridge is no longer deciding for you. It's following. You don't know exactly when it started, but the bridge is no longer quiet. Not noisy either, but filled. Filled with the kind of presence that doesn't speak out loud, only hums softly in your thoughts. It's as if the wood beneath your feet has grown aware of your story and is now choosing to lean in like a friend who's finally ready to listen. You walk. The fog is thinner now, not because it's burned away, but because it's polite. It keeps its distance. It seems to know you've seen enough, learned enough, wandered enough to no longer need mystery for mystery's sake. Then you smell something, citrus and metal. You look to your right and notice something completely out of place and yet somehow inevitable. A post office standing neatly on the edge of the bridge, shingled roof, brass handles, a painted sign that reads, "The Office of Unsent Letters." Of course, you enter. It's silent, but not dead. Like a museum with no security guards, just quiet reverence. There are shelves upon shelves of envelopes, each labeled in tiny, perfect script. You run your fingers along the spines of memory. To my future self, undeliverable. To the friend I didn't keep. To the one who almost stayed. To that version of me, each envelope seems to hum faintly with its own weight. Not emotional, but gravitational. As if they belong to orbits you once escaped. A clerk appears behind the counter. Or maybe she was always there. She wears a smart little uniform and a name tag that says only Postmaster. Her eyes are the color of storms that never made landfall. She smiles. "You've got mail," she says. She hands you an envelope. It's sealed with wax and marked in your own handwriting. You open it. Inside, a single phrase. "You were already here once." You ask her, quietly, what it means. She tilts her head, amused. Some people walk the bridge. Some become part of it. Either way, it remembers. You leave the letter behind. You step outside. And for a moment, the bridge looks different. It stretches farther than you remember. The handrails now have carvings in them. Names, dates, drawings, a tiny whale, a crude heart with two initials you've never seen before. The sky above you ripples. Yes, ripples. Like a puddle recently stepped in by something very large and very quiet. You pause. The air changes again. And then you hear something that doesn't belong here at all. A train whistle, distant, echoed, muffled like a dream half buried under morning. You turn and see it, not a full train, just a single car made of brass and green velvet parked somehow atop the bridge. No tracks, no explanation. The door swings open, you don't resist. Inside the car is cozy, lamplight, worn upholstery, a tea set placed neatly on a table, steam still curling from the cup. You sit, of course, a radio crackles to life. "This is WBRG," says a voice that sounds older than sand, broadcasting to all bridges, all travelers, all echo fragments. Next stop, the idea of arrival. You sip the tea. It tastes like remembering. Not a memory, the feeling of remembering. Like déjà vu stirred into honey. The train hums without moving. Outside the window, the bridge flows on. You wonder, briefly, if the bridge is moving and the train is still, or the other way around. Then you realize it doesn't matter. Movement is just narrative in disguise. The radio clicks again. Tonight's story, the town that built a bridge before they built themselves. You smile. The train car dims slightly. A soft lullaby begins to play, one you remember hearing from an old music box in a shop that never existed. You close your eyes just for a moment, and when you open them, the train is gone. You're standing on the bridge again, but the wood beneath. Your feet feels like velvet, and the fog tastes faintly of memory. You continue. The lanterns are back, but now they flicker in sync with your heartbeat. Not because they know it, but because they are it. The bridge is no longer showing you things, it's remembering you. And somewhere far off, just barely within reach, you hear the sound of applause. Not loud, not cheering, just polite. Soft. As if somewhere, someone was quietly proud of you for making it this far. You walk toward the applause, though it fades as you move. Like it was never meant to greet you, just acknowledge you. A soft thank you from a version of the world that's been watching in the background, arms crossed, nodding slowly. The bridge curves again, impossibly, like it's folding around something you're not ready to see yet. It doesn't demand trust, it assumes it, and then, just ahead, a structure, a small amphitheater carved out of the bridge itself, wooden benches, a stage, no curtains, no lights, just a half circle of silence and expectation. You don't see anyone seated, but there are coats draped over the benches, scarves, an umbrella still dripping from rain that hasn't happened. And on stage, standing with the kind of posture that suggests they've been waiting too long, is a figure. Your height, your shape, not you. They speak, and the voice is yours. But not how you hear it, how it sounds in recordings, in voicemails, in memories other people carry of you. Tonight's performance, they say with a bow, is called Echo in 3 movements. You sit, because of course. Movement. 1. The sound of the first time you said something you didn't mean and realized it worked. A spotlight appears out of nowhere. The stage fills with the sounds of conversations you almost remember. Snippets of flattery, half-truths, small lies meant to smooth a moment over. The figure speaks them all in your voice. Then silence. Movement 2. The last time you forgot something on purpose. The spotlight shifts. The sound becomes thinner. Wind through a crack. A friend's birthday you pretended didn't exist. A voicemail you deleted before listening. A childhood memory that now smells like pencil shavings and antiseptic. Movement 3. The time. You changed and didn't tell anyone. The spotlight fades entirely. Now it's just you and the figure. They walk toward the edge of the stage, kneel down, and whisper something you can't quite hear. But you understand it anyway. And then, without fanfare, they step backward and fall through the stage as if it were water. You rise, the applause returns. Just a single person clapping slowly. You turn, and there's no one there, just a sign resting on the bench behind you. Sometimes you're your own audience, and that's enough. You smile, the bridge stretches on, and now the planks change underfoot. No longer wood, something else, something that feels like memory, soft and spongy, like stepping across years instead of meters. You look down, beneath the translucent floor, you see moments, your first bike ride, looping endlessly. The night you watched lightning without fear. A stranger smiling at you in a cafe you've never visited, but instantly miss. You walk over them without falling in. The bridge knows what to hold. Then ahead, a door, not a freestanding one this time, built into the bridge, old iron hinges, dark blue paint, a brass handle that looks cold and heavy, etched into the wood. This is the part you wrote without.
Realizing you don't knock. You don't pause. You open it. Inside, it's night. Stars everywhere. No ceiling, no floor, just stars stretching in all directions. You're standing on nothing, and yet you don't fall.
Gravity here is a story someone else already believed in. So it works. A voice speaks, not from any direction, just within the space. This is where people used to end. You ask what changed. The voice hesitates, then says, they learned there were other directions. You stay there for a moment, listening to the stars. Some whisper, some hum. One of them says your name the way only someone who misses you can say it. You turn. The door is still there. You walk through it again, back onto the bridge, and this time the fog bows slightly as you pass. The fog is thinner now, not because it's giving up, but because it respects you. You've walked far enough to earn some clarity. Not full understanding, that would be far too generous, but enough to see the shapes of things before you bump into them. Up ahead, the bridge tilts slightly, just enough to make your steps feel like questions, and there it is. A vending machine. You blink, then laugh. It's absurd, but perfectly placed. Like someone in the architect's office said, let's throw in something ordinary so they know the strange parts are real. You approach. It's old. Metal casing, glass front, a keypad worn smooth by other hands. But what it offers isn't snacks. Behind the glass are memories, labeled in tiny white letters. A day you were brave, without witness, A joke you forgot to laugh at that 1 hour when everything was quiet. The dream you had just before waking up. Crying you type in E3 on instinct. A small packet drops into the tray. You open it. Inside is a scent. Not an object, not a message, just a scent. It smells like a hallway from your childhood, the one with the scuffed floors and the coat hook you always missed by 2 inches. You close your eyes, and for 1 heartbeat, you are there again. The bridge hums softly, like it's proud of you for remembering something so gently. You keep walking around the next bend. There's something tall and skeletal rising from the planks, a framework of copper rods and clock gears, standing like a sculpture or a machine that forgot what it was supposed to do. At the center, a chair and a pair of headphones. You sit because at this point, why wouldn't you? The moment your head rests against the pads, a voice begins to speak. Not yours, not anyone's, a voice made of echo and warmth. This is the last known recording of the historians who tried to explain the bridge. It says, you listen. The recording begins with facts. The structure was discovered in 1842, though there are sketches dating back to the 1600s. Early reports claim it appeared only during solstices. Others suggest it was always here, but invisible to those not yet grieving. Then the voice shifts, growing quieter, more intimate. They argued over its purpose. Was it a transport? A test? A metaphor constructed by people who'd lost too
much and needed somewhere to place the weight? You hear a laugh in the background of the recording. Then a whisper. They never crossed it, only studied it from the shore.
The tape ends. The chair lowers you gently back to your feet. You step forward again, and suddenly, strangely, you smell toast. Warm, buttery, slightly burned. You follow the scent and find a small breakfast table placed in the middle of the bridge. 2 chairs, a teapot, a plate of toast, still steaming. A note rests beside it. For the part of you that's always been hungry, you sit. Not out of need, but recognition. The toast tastes familiar, though you've never eaten anything like it. The flavor reminds you of early mornings when you were excited for something, but forgot what it was by lunch. You don't finish the tea. It wasn't meant to be finished. You rise. And now, finally, you see what lies ahead. The bridge ends. Not dramatically. Not with a gate or a tower or a burst of light, just a soft edge, gently sloping into nothingness. A landing made of dusk. It looks like a place to stop walking, not because you're out of path, but because you no longer need one. But before you reach it, there's one last sign, simple wood, hand-painted letters. You may choose to return, but you won't come. Back as the same question. You step forward, but the bridge doesn't end. It simply changes its tone. The bridge doesn't end. It simply becomes quieter. It narrows again, not in width, but in mood. The way a room feels smaller after everyone has left, but the music is still playing. The way a memory pulls inward, tighter, when you realize no one else shares it. You walk. Now the planks beneath your feet feel softer. Less like wood, more like felt. Or memory foam designed to hold the imprint of thought instead of weight. You look down and notice. There are no more footprints. Not yours. Not anyone's, as if from this point on the bridge doesn't need to record who's been here. You pass an archway made of salt and bone. It simply stands, humming. On its side, a phrase carved in near microscopic letters. Everything you carried past this point has always been imaginary. You nod, because that's the kind of truth you don't need to understand right away. Beyond the archway is a garden. Yes. Garden.lush, overgrown. Plants you recognize and others that feel more like metaphors pretending to be vegetables. Blue ferns, ivy made of paper strips, a tree that grows radios instead of fruit. You walk among them. One of the radios crackles to life as you pass. Good morning, it says, or good whenever. You've tuned in to Station Echo, where the
only news is the weather inside your head. You pause beside the tree. A single radio clicks again. This time, it says, your childhood friend still wonders where you went that afternoon. You move on. There's a bench at the center of the
garden. On it sits a folded coat. Grey. Wool. Smells like cedar. When you lift it, a letter slips out from the pocket. You unfold it. No address. No signature, just one line written in beautiful, aching script. I forgive you for forgetting me first. You sit with that for a while, not to analyze it, just to hold it in your lap like a warm animal that's chosen you, even though you didn't call it. And then the breeze returns, soft, clean, like air filtered through a library window. The plants part, not dramatically, just a little, the way curtains shift when someone has already entered the room, and beyond. The garden is a hallway. Yes, carved out of the bridge's bones, tall ceilings, wooden floors that feel like pages. Lining the walls, framed photos of doors. Not places, just doors. Each one with a label. Door knocked on, but never opened. Door closed while you were still talking. Door you waited behind. Door that did not lead, where you thought. You walk the hallway, and the doors feel personal. One frame is empty. You don't need to ask why. The hallway narrows until you reach the final photo. A door marked simply, this one. You look at it. It looks back, not literally, but fully. There's no handle, no hinges, just the image of a door that recognizes you. And next to the frame is a note on a clipboard. Some entries are internal. Proceed accordingly. So you don't touch the frame, you just nod, and the hallway fades. You're on the bridge again. Only now it's raining, not heavily. Just a misting of memory. A soft fall that leaves no wetness, only the sensation of having been remembered. You walk forward, through the rain that isn't rain, toward a sign swinging gently in the breeze. Painted in barely there ink. You are now being forgotten by the places you used to be. You exhale, and the bridge exhales with you. Not an ending, just
another breath.
The rain softens into nothing, not because it stops, but because it fades into you. The same way memories do when you stop fighting to keep them and start letting them sit quietly in the background, like furniture in a room you used to live in. The bridge ahead is lit now. Not brightly, not harshly, just enough. A soft glow rising from the seams between the planks, like the light isn't from bulbs or flames, but from the story itself becoming more visible. And in that glow, you see them. Figures, dozens, maybe more, not walking, not waiting, just paused. They stand on either side of the bridge, not in your way, not speaking. Just there, watching gently. Their faces are calm. Their bodies translucent around the edges. Each one is clothed in a different era. One wears a Letterman jacket from the 1950s, another a hoop skirt, another a hazmat suit, another pajamas covered in cartoon cats. None of them blink, they don't need to. You walk past, and one of them, a
Young girl holding a stuffed animal, nods at you once. That's it, just a nod. And somehow, it's more comforting than 1,000 handshakes. You realize something as you pass them. These aren't ghosts. They're not memories either. They're
Possibilities. Versions of you who stayed at certain forks, who turned back, who sat down, who jumped. They're not jealous, they're not proud. They just are. One wears your high school hoodie and mutters almost to himself, "We never did get to see the coast." Another, older, adjusts a pair of round glasses and says, I kept the job. Paid off the house, never asked the question. They don't block your path, they're not tests. They're acknowledgements. As you move beyond them, the bridge opens up again, wide, almost like a plaza. In the middle stands a tall cabinet, oak, polished, far too elegant for where it is. On it, a plaque. The Archive of Final Answers. You
hesitate because deep down you already know this is not for the curious.
It's for the ready. You open the cabinet anyway. Inside, there's only one drawer. It slides out effortlessly as though it's been waiting for your hand this whole time. Inside, a mirror. Small, oval, the kind you might find in an old pocketbook. You
lift it, and for the briefest second, you don't see yourself. You see the question, the real one, the one you didn't even know you'd been asking. And then it shifts, and there you are. Smiling, not because you have the answer, but because
somehow it no longer matters. You close the drawer. Gently. Behind you, the figures begin to vanish, not all at once, but like fading starlight. The plaza dims. The bridge narrows once again, and now it feels softer than ever. Like it's cushioning your thoughts, preparing you for something that doesn't need explanation, only acceptance. You walk, and soon you hear music again. Low, warm, the kind played on old pianos with chipped ivory keys. The kind played when someone you love is cooking. Dinner in the next room. You follow the sound and find a room. Yes, one more. Small, wooden, lit by candlelight. Inside, a table, 2 chairs, a meal already served, still steaming. You sit, across from you a shadow. It lifts a fork, nods at you, and begins to eat. You join. No words are spoken, but it's the best conversation you've had in years. You leave, half your plate unfinished because you're not here to finish anything anymore. You're here to remember what it feels like to rest. As you rise, the shadow smiles and says, "Finally, you're doing just fine." You believe it, and the bridge waits. The bridge doesn't say anything as you leave the candlelit room, but the silence it offers feels like a gift, like a blanket tucked around your thoughts. You walk quietly now, not out of fear, but reverence. Every step feels like a conversation. You no longer need to have out loud, and then just ahead, you see something strange, a door frame. No door, just the frame, freestanding. White paint, chipped at the edges. A brass hinge rusted in place. It stands in the middle of the path, doing absolutely nothing except waiting. There's no plaque, no sign, no cryptic inscription, just the doorframe. You step through it, and suddenly you're elsewhere, not teleported, not vanished, just elsewhere. Same bridge, different weather. The air is dry now, crackling slightly with static. You smell ozone and sun-warmed copper. The fog is gone, replaced by crisp wind and the scent of unopened books. You're still on the bridge, but it no longer looks like any bridge you've seen. The structure bends upward, arching gently toward a point on the horizon where the sky folds in on itself like origami. The railings are lined with clocks, dozens of them. None of
Them ticking.
All frozen at impossible times, 24/61/1987, sometimes, and one that simply reads, soon. You walk beside them, each one reflects not your face, but moments, glimpses of your life, skewed slightly, like old VHS footage recorded over too many times. You see yourself running, sleeping, laughing in a hallway that never existed, standing in a room full of strangers who look familiar. You touch one of the clocks. It rings softly, like a note struck underwater. And then you remember a piece of history. In 1926, an inventor named Clara Halford claimed she had discovered the thinnest point in linear time. She built a clock that never ticked, but when opened, whispered the words people were about to say. The device was confiscated, buried, denied. Some say she walked a bridge no one else could see. Some say the bridge walked her. You pass the last of the clocks, and now the sky above is filled with floating frames, picture frames, hundreds of them, empty, spinning gently in place. They follow you like kites on invisible strings. One drifts lower. You look inside it, and you see your handwriting on a chalkboard. A sentence forming. The future isn't a place, it's a pattern. You blink, the frame floats away. Ahead, the bridge begins to slope downward, not sharply, not ominously, just like a hill you've climbed and are now being gently guided down. You feel the pull of gravity again, but not from the earth, from you, from the parts of yourself that have grown heavy with all the meanings you never quite finished unpacking. At the base of the slope, there's a gate, or what remains of one. It's broken in the middle, its hinges twisted and vines crawling through the slats. A small sign swings from what's left. Do not enter unless you already have. You smile, because of course, you already have. You step through and something shifts in the light. The sky goes warmer. The wind slows. And somewhere behind you, the clocks begin to tick again, but not in sync. They tick like a symphony warming up. Imperfect. Beautiful. You keep walking. No fanfare. No audience. Just the sound of your own steps, finally matching the rhythm of something you don't need to name. The ticking fades behind you, dissolving into the wind like a conversation between ghosts that's finally finished. Now the bridge feels wide again, but not in distance. In meaning, the space between each plank is filled with more than shadow. There's depth there. You can sense it. Like if you stepped just a little too carefully, you might fall through the floor and into a childhood dream you forgot to finish. Ahead, the air shimmers, not with heat, with memory, and as you pass through it, something changes. You begin to hear names, not loudly, just barely, carried on the wind like dandelion seeds. Each name is spoken with reverence. Some you recognize, some you don't, but every one of them sounds like it belongs to a person who once stood exactly where you're standing now. They aren't calling you. They're simply reminding you. You're not the first. You won't be the last. The bridge stretches forward into what looks like a corridor, but the walls are made of fabric. Hanging curtains, all sheer, billowing gently with a breeze that doesn't touch your skin. You step through them. Each curtain is soft as breath, cool like early morning, and with each one you pass, a sentence follows you. You forgave them.
Too late, but you forgave them. You remembered the wrong birthday, but still made the call. You never learned how to say goodbye, and that's okay.
They don't scold, they don't judge, they just know. At the center of the corridor, the curtains stop. and there sits a simple box. Black velvet. No lock, no decoration. It waits. You kneel, lift the lid. Inside is a paper bird, origami, faded, wings slightly crumpled. You unfold it gently. The creases remember their shape, but let you look anyway. There's writing on the inside. Your writing, the version of me who believed this far, deserves a little more time. You fold the bird back up and place it inside. You don't take it. With you, it belongs here. You rise and move on. The next stretch of bridge is lit by lanterns again, but this time the lanterns are carried by hands. Not people, just hands. Dozens of them disembodied, floating beside the path. They don't reach for you. They hold the light still. They carry your way forward. You nod once, and a few of them nod back. The path slopes upward again, just slightly, enough to remind you that something is coming. And there it is. The place you've been walking toward without realizing. A desk, large, wooden, paper-strewn. An old lamp flickers on its surface, casting soft gold across a leather journal that's been
left open. You approach. You sit. The chair creaks exactly once, like a sigh that's waited years to be heard. On the page, chapter, you. Below that, nothing, just a blank space. The pen beside it is warm. You pick it up. You don't write a story, you
don't need to. You write a sentence, one you've never said out loud, one you didn't know was waiting inside you this whole time. It's only a few words. But when you're done, the bridge hums again, and the lanterns begin to drift away, slowly, into the fog that's returned like an old friend. You close the journal, you stand, and now, at the very edge of the bridge, there is a door. No tricks this time, no riddles, just a door. Plain, painted a soft grey. It has a doorknob made of glass.
And behind it, silence. The good kind, the kind that makes you think of rain on rooftops and someone humming while folding clothes in the next room. You place your hand on the knob, you pause, not because you're scared, but because you're ready. You
turn it, and the door opens, not to the end, but to whatever comes next. You don't step through the door right away. Instead, you rest your hand on the frame. Feel its grain, its warmth, the way it trembles ever so slightly, as if the door too is aware that this is the end of something, even if it doesn't know exactly what. The air around you is utterly still. No fog, no wind. Even the bridge behind you is silent now. Not empty, just finished. You take one breath and step through. And what's on the other side isn't a destination, it's a moment. A moment stretched so gently across time that it could be a place, a song, a feeling, or all of them at once. It is morning, but not from the sun. It is music, but not from instruments. It is memory, but only the kind that leaves no ache behind. You find yourself standing in a field, the kind of field you might have imagined as a child, reading a book too old for you under a blanket with a flashlight. Rolling hills. A tree in the distance, the suggestion of a breeze, and in that tree ribbons. Dozens of them, each tied with a name you've never spoken out loud, but always remembered. One ribbon flutters loose and lands at your feet. You pick it.
Up, there's nothing written on it, but somehow it knows you. You walk forward, feeling the softness of the ground beneath your steps. Not like grass, not like earth, but something in between.
Something made for in-betweeners like you. You reach a small hill, at the top, a bench, and beside it, a book. Not a journal, not a diary, a storybook. the kind read aloud by soft voices in rooms filled with lamps and quiet trust. You open it, every page is blank, except the last. On it, a single line: this is where you rest, you sit. Not to collapse, not to end, but to settle, to breathe, to let the weight you've carried across every impossible plank and whispering corridor dissolve into something simpler. You look out across the horizon. It shifts as you do, expanding, softening, becoming something that doesn't need to be understood, to be loved. And as your eyes close, not from sleep, but from fullness, you hear the final voice. Not outside you, not inside you, just
Around you, it says, there are bridges that take you across rivers, and bridges that carry you through time. But this one simply walked beside you until you didn't need a bridge anymore. And the light fades gently. Not because the story is over, but because the story can finally rest.